Okay, so Minority Report is the most influential film of all time. Like most things, it started with an awesome Philip K. Dick short story called The Minority Report, and it was originally optioned as a sequel to Total Recall, which was the Philip K. Dick story of We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which this was Total Recall there. That's not Colin Farrell coming out of his stomach. The real Colin Farrell is in, of course, the remake of Total Recall. So it was optioned as a sequel to Total Recall, and then it just basically never happened. So after E.T., Steven Spielberg decided that he wanted to have a far more realistic way of creating worlds around his films, that he didn't just want to try and imagine these kind of worlds, that he wanted to be very specific. So what he did was he got some of the biggest thinkers in the world at the time, Peter Schwartz, futurist, Douglas Copeland, all these like crazy, like really, really smart people, and invented this fake conference, and they had all like fake name badges and everything in a hotel in California, and basically locked them there for 3 days and said, come up not with a vision of the future, not with creating a world, but come up with things that you think in 50 years we will actually be using as tools. The first thing they came up with was self-driving cars. Self-driving cars have just been licensed in Nevada as a legitimate piece of transport, so that little thing came true. They don't look as cool as that, though. They look like that. But, you know, that was basically the first thing. A very practical thing, easy thing to think of, you know, oh, in the future we probably won't have to drive ourselves around. And the fact that these things are being licensed now and have gone through all these safety regulations is kind of amazing. Retina scanning already existed at the time of Minority Report, but they got it so accurate in terms of the timing and the way that it was going to actually become that the main dudes who like kind of do all of the retina scanning technology now say that it'll be available like it was in Minority Report in 2053. One of the most recognizable things that people kind of think of Minority Report is the gesture-based interface, and it's, you know, now when people talk about when, you know, the kind of Apple have their old stuff, they're like, oh, it'll just be like Minority Report. And this actually, the most important part of all this was the Xbox Kinect. When that came out, that was the real first time that people could control stuff with their gestures, long after Minority Report actually predicted this. And the most, even more important, is how people hack Xbox Kinects to do different things. This is a patent that Google licensed a week and a half ago, called Google Gloves. I love the way Google is like the most gigantic thing in the world, and then their patents look like something that you're like in 4th class going, future thing. Google Gloves will be the thing that you will actually be able to control things with a little thing on your fingertips. Pre-crime. Okay, pre-crime does not look like this, but this was pre-crime of the pre-cogs in Minority Report. You're able to pre-crime. What it does look like is Crush, crime reduction utilizing statistical history, a software developed by IBM, which is now being used in Memphis, where it oh God, I'm going so quickly. Okay, basically it's stopped violent crime by 27%. They're also using it in Florida. 2 British forces using it right now. What it does is creates an algorithm of weather reports, crime identity profiles of people, streets, all that kind of stuff, mash them all together so police can be in the area when the crime happens before it happens. Facebook, London riots, thousands of people jailed, many of whom listed their crime as intentions on Facebook before they even did anything pre-crime. Okay, targeted advertising. Minority Report invented targeted advertising. Remember the people walking into the shop going, oh, you look like you want a Guinness today. That was the start of targeted advertising, which now also knows like Facebook stuff and all that kind of stuff. Minority Report invented that. This is a rapper called Future. This is a Google image I got when I Googled Future. And this is what is yet to come from Minority Report. Facial recognition, billboards and analytics. Japanese company right now has just licensed face analytics for supermarkets, so that there are little cameras where wherever you walk, they'll be able to say this is the most football in this part of the store. There's also facial recognition billboards in Japan and London at the moment on bus stops, which kind of take in your profile and tell you what you want to buy. Electronic paper has pretty much been invented. It was kind of all the thing. I always think of electronic paper as in Inspector Gadget when Penny had the little book, but the actual malleable magnetic paper has kind of already been done. Insect robots. Remember when Tom Cruise was like hiding in the bath and all the insect robots are coming along? Insect robots now exist thanks to the US military, who are using little insects to go off on little recon things for explosives, little robotics. They also have those little insect drones that can go fly around. That was that picture. So, in conclusion, for something that doesn't really get that much recognition, it has predicted some of the biggest things that have happened in our lives, namely targeted advertising, the fact that we're kind of now little money banks for things to kind of draw data out of us, and the whole gesture kind of based interface stuff, the two main things. But the fact that all these people came together to come up with things that actually happened instead of just creating a world is pretty amazing.